Some U.S. military families are worrying about the safety of their loved ones after a Navy plane crashed in the Pacific. A search and rescue mission is underway right now for 3 people who are still missing. 8 others were rescued and are in good condition after this plane went down in the Philippine Sea. This is southwest of Okinawa, Japan. And we have some pictures of exactly the type of plane that crashed. This is a C-2A Greyhound. Navy officials say the plane was on a routine transport flight when it crashed while ferrying passengers and cargo over to the aircraft carrier, the USS Ronald Reagan. Retired USS Cole Commander Kirk Leopold is with me now. And so, Commander, thank you so much for being with me, and thank you, as always, for your service. You know, I woke up this morning and thought, my goodness, I was just on a C-2 COD headed to the USS Reagan 3 weeks ago to report on the sailors there. And we'll talk about how they're used in just a moment. But first, when you heard about this, I mean, how rare are crashes like this?
First, Brooke, what I'd like to do is express my sympathies and hope that these families, that the thoughts and prayers of America are with them, that they can be found and rescued. But this is a very common aircraft flight that they were making. It's typical that it's carrier onboard delivery, which is COD. It's used to bring out supplies and people back and forth from an aircraft carrier to land. So as you know, having been on one, it's a routine operation. And while no flight should ever be routine, clearly there's an expectation that nothing would go wrong, especially when you've got a twin turboprop.
So, and we have some pictures from my trip a couple weeks ago for people to understand. And when you're in a COD, you're facing backwards. You're in this, what looks like a very old plane. This is the inside of it. You've got a helmet on and you're, seat belted in 6 different ways, but not because of the safety of the COD, but because of the catch on the carrier. And so as they're investigating what happened, what will they be looking at? Pilot error, conditions around the aircraft carrier? What do you think, Commander?
They're going to take that all into, as they do the investigation, they will take every aspect of that into account. They're first and foremost, they're going to want to talk to our witnesses that were on board. What did they hear? What did they see? What were the communications that may have been going on? What were the indications in the aircraft itself? Were the engines running? Where there's a problem? But you have to remember, Brooke, the last aircraft from this particular model came off the assembly line in 1990. So they're 27 plus years old. And while the Navy's been investing money to upgrade their avionics and their structural integrity, nonetheless, they're old aircraft. And unlike B-52s, which are decades old, these aircraft get a pretty rough life when you consider that they are continuously landed on and off aircraft carriers, which is a very stressful environment for those planes to operate in.
Commander Leopold, I need to ask you then about the 7th Fleet and what is going on. Just to remind our viewers, you had the 2 deadly collisions over the summer, which the Navy admits, what were preventable. A total of 17 sailors killed. Then you have today's plane crash, where we also counted 6 other U.S. Navy incidents so far this year in the Pacific, going back to January. And now I know these incidents are not directly connected, but still, how do we make sure our men and women, our sailors out there, are safe?
Well, I think first and foremost, there's a responsibility that resides back here in Washington. Number one, the Department of Defense is operating on a continuing resolution, which means that they do not have a budget. And while there is funding for basic programs, they're all freezing, and so there can be no new starts or anything else. So Congress has not done their job. Number two, the admirals back here in Washington have a responsibility to man, train, and equip the fleet. And the bottom line is every single one of these admirals came from the fleet. They came back to Washington after multiple tours now, and it has literally been years that we have seen these problems building. And so what you're seeing now is that unfortunately, as we begin to really have readiness issues, it's being measured in lives. Sailors killed in collision because we don't properly train. Aircraft that are crashing because they may not be maintained. These are the kind of issues where we need to not have a hollow force, and that the Department of Defense needs sequestration taken care of, a predictable budget, and then we can move forward to ensure these young men and women who serve our nation can do so safely.